A new injury scare for the LA Galaxy. Chris Wondolowski pursues history and more than 66,000 fans at CenturyLink Field in Seattle. Next on The Daily. Hey everybody, happy Monday and welcome to another edition of The Daily here with Andrew Reeby. I'm Nick Fershaw, looking back at the biggest headlines from the weekend, and we're going to start with a big one for the LA Galaxy. They were up against Real Salt Lake on Saturday night, and RSL went down to the Home Depot Center and got a 2-1 win. RSL now vaulting into second place, a little bit safer there with that lead over the LA Galaxy, looking to lock down that home field advantage in the conference semifinals. We'll start with the game and then we'll talk about Landon Donovan. Espindola with 2 goals for RSL and an impressive win.
Yeah, this is the first time ever, in fact, that a team has beat LA twice at home in one season. It seems RSL just have the Galaxy's number, 2-0-1 against them this season. And they said it after the game. This is a scary team that Jason Kreis leads out there. When Fabian Espindola is on, you've got to watch out. RSL with one of the best 11s in the league. The question has been depth. LA looking like they're going to be in a battle for that 4th seed now. It's a tough one. They do not want that position. That comes with that extra play-in game. A really, really tough loss for them at home. And
some more adversity here for the LA Galaxy. They may have lost Landon Donovan for a little bit of time. A left knee injury late in this game. He came off at the end. We already know about AJ De La Garza out for the duration of October, hoping to get back in the postseason. The other story here, Landon Donovan's probably going to miss these next 2 games for the U.S. national team.
Yeah, the roster comes out today on Monday, so we'll find out his status for that one. But this is a huge blow. Afterwards, he didn't have a lot to say as far as timeline. Not much to be said at that point without actually having it examined by the doctors. But he said, this is to be determined. That did not feel good, and there had to be a lot of hearts and stomachs in L.A. and across the country for U.S. fans after that one.
A little bit cryptic out there at the Home Depot Center. Again, the LA Galaxy go down to Real Salt Lake. RSL moving up in the Western Conference standings. You can check out the standings at mlssoccer.com/standings. Well, another big road win, this one in the Eastern Conference. Chicago Fire at Red Bull Arena on Saturday on NBC, and a big 2-0 win over the host Red Bulls. Sergio MacDonald with 2 goals in this one, scoreless at half, and then the Fire capitalized on that counter.
Yeah, a lot made of this game from both sides' perspectives. New York's been so good at home this season, but they just came out flat, and they didn't get it done. Thierry Henry, after the game, had some harsh words for his team, saying Chicago just wanted this more. They were more organized, and then some cryptic words from him as well, saying, hey, we're still in this. Yeah. That's something strange to be said from your captain when you're still in 3rd place there in the Eastern Conference, but it's not going the way you want for New York. And for Chicago, a great bounce-back win after a couple disappointing results against Kansas City and Philadelphia.
DC United also with a big win over Toronto FC earlier on Saturday. That means the Red Bulls are a little bit behind now the rest of the pack. Sporting Kansas City, Chicago Fire, and DC United. The Chicago Fire clinched a postseason berth on Sunday when the Columbus Crew drew against Sporting Kansas City. Now, the Houston Dynamo and Columbus Crew were each with a draw over the weekend, so no gain ground for either one of those teams out in the Eastern Conference. Well, Chris Wondolowski and the San Jose Earthquakes out in Denver on Saturday night with a 4-1 win over the Colorado Rapids. That means the Quakes locked down the top spot in the Western Conference playoffs, but that's not the biggest storyline that came out of this one. Andrew, Chris Wondolowski, 3 more goals, still chasing Roy Lassiter's single-season goal-scoring record all the way back to 1996. Wondo at 25 with 2 games left to go.
Yeah, he just needs 3 to break, and at this point, who's going to bet against Chris Wondolowski? At the end of seasons, it seems like he just catches fire, and he's doing it again. All the thoughts beforehand, doesn't have a chance. That's about the time the guy pulls out a hat trick. Not the most beautiful of hat tricks. Right. A deflection getting him his 2nd goal. Not something you're necessarily going to write home about as far as the goals themselves, but 25 goals, an impressive season for him. And a little note from that game at halftime, Alexi Lawless saying, hey, I've talked to Chris Wondolowski. He negotiates his own deals. It seems he may want to push for that DP contract next year. One to watch, certainly, as the offseason comes on, but yet another wonderful season for Wondo.
So a big night for Wondo and a big night for the Quakes. Again, the top spot in the Western Conference postseason, and down at the bottom of the postseason rate, FC Dallas in action on Sunday. They settled for a 1-1 draw against Chivas USA. Andrew, they've got some work to do to catch up to the Vancouver Whitecaps. Well, last but certainly not least, the capper for another wild weekend in MLS on Sunday night out at CenturyLink Field. Doesn't get any better than more than 66,000 fans showing up for the Seattle Sounders and Portland Timbers, a big Cascadia Cup matchup, and the Timbers in this one, they ran into a buzzsaw. The Sounders did not disappoint, a 3-0 win.
Yeah, easy one for them. A own goal starts it out from Footy Danzo, then Eddie Johnson. Just an absolutely perfect finish off the half bounce, a really impressive goal for him. And then Freddie Montero finishes it off. At the end of all this, Siggy Schmidt got emotional, and that's not something we're used to seeing from Siggy, but he said, look, this is my idea of heaven, and that's strong words from a guy who has been in a lot of good places in the league, but you look around, they dedicated a tifo to him before the game, all in, they said, a full house he held, but just an amazing win for Seattle in front of all their home fans. They're starting to move into position. With a win, they have a game in hand on Real Salt Lake. They'll be tied for second place, and that's really, really important as far as seeding goes going into the playoffs.
You look at the Cascadia Cup, the Sounders now with a chance to win it, but the Timbers have one last opportunity, October 21st at Vancouver. See if the Timbers can wrap up the Cascadia Cup, maybe salvage this 2012 season. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more on the latest edition of Extra Time Radio. Podcast comes out on Monday on iTunes, Buzzsprout, and Stitcher Radio. That does it for us. We'll see you again on The Daily on Tuesday.